but yeah, I mean, if you read a lot of their publications and look at their pitch prep and things like that, I mean, Y Combinator has called this out repeatedly as well. That a lot of people show up and say, "Hey, look, I've got the perfect solution. I'm trying to figure out what problem this solves," and
Yes.
essentially nobody wants to invest in that. So such an important piece as well. And then
It's true.
kind of the secondary piece that I took away as well is that just this whole concept of bringing multiple skill sets, I guess, would be the example of to the clients that you have as well. Because I think, and I see the same thing in my business as well. That look, I mean, you're essentially buying time for 5 resources. You're not necessarily buying my time or another person on my team's time. And that's a hard concept I know for a lot of people to understand, and it's been a struggle, of ours overall to just say, hey, look, I mean, if you put all these skills into one person, you're not going to get a very good resource. But if I could, sort of pass you along to people in my team that have these skills, these are things that you need, and we just sort of need you to come along in the journey as well, to so that you have a really solid plan going forward.
That's true. It's true. I think the staffing of these marketing programs is pretty critical, right? Because even within marketing, there are so many subdisciplines, and if we're really going to put the power of an agency behind an early stage company, then they need that, right? They need the strategy, they need the design, they need the marketing operations side, and if these things are done well early on, then it really does set them up for success, not just those early commercial milestones like getting a product launched and understanding product market fit better and maybe getting those early sales, but also just giving them a framework that they can work within for future product launches. They're that founding team learns so much from those early successes and failures. And I think a good marketing agency really supports that learning process as well. So I think that's a great point.
So, in terms of the clients that you have, can you share an example of a successful marketing campaign that you've had, and what made it successful?
Yeah. So we've had many campaigns over the years. One of my favorite programs that we run out of any of them is the Advanced Lateral Flow Conference. It's a conference that we've put on for the last 7 or so years, usually in the San Diego area. This year it's in La Jolla. As you can imagine, just me saying those words, lateral flow, that's a very niche technology within the diagnostics space. It's primarily for rapid test point of care diagnostics. But this event used to be essentially a workshop for lateral flow. So teaching people who attend how to make their first lateral flow devices, maybe covering some advanced topics on lateral flow development. But over the years, and in part because of the vision of the clients that hosts the event, and in part because of what I've added and High Touch Group as a whole has added to this event, it's gone from a workshop to a scientific symposium. It's now 400 attendees. We have panelists from across the industry talking about the hottest topics in rapid point of care testing. And this is such an important field because, as you know, most COVID tests, for example, were lateral flow based formats. Pregnancy tests are sort of the common lateral flow tests that people know and use, but really they're used across multiple industries, from water testing, bioprocessing, of course, all sorts of infectious and chronic diseases, companion diagnostics. It's so there's so much innovation going on that we took this show about 6 or 7 years ago, and today, through a series of programs on the content development side. So getting in the right speakers, developing the right agendas through the organizing committee, putting an awards program together for lifetime achievements and an innovation award for new technologies in the lateral flow space. The scope of the show has really just broadened. There's an exhibit hall. There's 2 full days of main stage technical sessions. Just 2 evening events that are these big fun parties with everybody in the industry, from supply chain leaders to inventors of very specific tests to diagnostic strategics like large diagnostic companies that are looking to acquire niche technologies that they're no longer inventing in house, right? So and then now we even have a lot of private equity and venture capital representation at the show, as well as people from NIH and BARDA and FDA. So it's really just changed a lot, right? From mostly startups who are getting very practical information to this much larger conference. So, of course, this has done a lot to build the client's position in the lateral flow diagnostic space, the host organization, as well as the conference itself is now really the premier event in the space. And so that was a marketing program, but as you can see, that was a business strategy that was executed with a lot of marketing support. But it's not a traditional, oh, we had this idea for a campaign and built a microsite and did some pushes on social and did some media buys. Like, yeah, we do that too. But I think when I think about my successes, it's like, what did we do to really change how an industry thinks about itself? Right.
Mhm.
The lateral flow industry didn't exist 7 years ago. I mean, it existed, but people didn't refer to themselves as I'm from the lateral flow industry, right? This is the gathering point for an entire industry of suppliers and inventors and strategics, and just being part of that growth has been really amazing from a career perspective. So I think that that's probably one of our most successful campaigns, just because it's strategic, as well as obviously there's a lot on the execution side that has to happen with marketing any sort of event. So always a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are some of the most innovative projects or trends that you're currently seeing inside of life sciences marketing space?
I'm really interested in how diagnostics is going to translate to in-home use of technologies. So, uh, there's a lot of wearables tech right now. I'm seeing a lot of pitches for different diagnostics products that are essentially some cross between wearable or like hospital in the home, a lab in the home. I think that that's an interesting concept, and I know you're nodding your head because I'm sure you've seen this for years as well. And they're not always getting funded. And I'm seeing technology that's really, really good. A few years ago, obviously, we had the Theranos debacle, but today, I mean, you can do a lot with a few drops of blood in a pretty small containerized system for at home use. And I'm seeing these demoed a lot, but they're not necessarily getting the funding. And I don't, in my conversations with investors on this topic, a lot of them are still sort of shy because of the Theranos thing. Maybe that's changing. I hear that there's her boyfriend or husband or something is starting a diagnostics company while
Wow.
she's in jail. So I don't know. Maybe the world is warming back up to this idea. But I think that diagnostics in a home use environment, I think, is going to be just incredibly life changing for a lot of people, especially if you're monitoring chronic illness, especially if you live in a rural area where trips to medical facilities might take you an hour. I'm from a rural area. I'm from Maine originally, and there are hospitals and clinics that are being shut down all the time. And so I think it's going to be more and more difficult as hospital infrastructure goes away for people in rural areas to receive the healthcare that they need and that they've grown accustomed to. And so these at home laboratories, essentially, that could live in your bathroom and that are the size of a shoebox or smaller, could really, I think, change just how we think about healthcare and wellness in the United States and more broadly globally.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because I feel like everything with COVID was more or less, kind of a lot of our big at least everybody more or less wound up having to take a COVID test at home and do it themselves and things like that. And then whether it's that or you have a small diagnostic device that sits on a counter that can run a couple of different tests whenever you don't feel well, and those answers could go back. I mean, wouldn't that be powerful as well?